Hi, good morning, everyone. All right. The first thing is, yesterday's session, which I have taken on the lightning experience, this one, I have uploaded this onto your drive and you're going to find it into 208 deployment folder. So that was the very first announcement. So along with the deployment sessions, like you have session 1 and then 2 and 3. All these 3 sessions are on the deployment. Session number 4, which I have taken on yesterday morning, is about the lightning experience. So this is present inside in this folder. That was the first thing. Now, second, because we already have learned about lightning experience, what I personally feel is from this onward, we should start working on the lightning experience. Although I can continue with the classic version as well, but if we wanted, if we wanted to make this experience more habitual with our daily routine when we are using this Salesforce. So it can only be possible when we start practicing onto this. So that's the reason, I personally feel that from this onward, I mean, we don't have, although a lot of topic left. After triggers, we have one more topic for the development, that is test classes. And straightly after the test classes, we are going to start with integrations. So I feel that you should have, you should become, you should practice from this onward. You should also practice on the lightning experience so that you captively have um, both things in your hand. I mean, you should be having the hands-on with the classic, which you are doing so far, and you should also have a practice on how to use the lightning experience so that it also becomes a part of your training. Although I haven't tried this from prior to this, I have not tried this with any batch. This is the first batch on which I'm taking this and that to be why, because I already have taught you about deployment and this lightning experience. Otherwise, what happens, I mean, prior to this, whatever the batch I have taken, what happens with them is like deployment was the last topic. So once deployment is completed, after that, there was one session which, like, for you, I used to take the same session, lightning experience, but after that, everything has been over from my side. I don't have any further sessions to be get completed. For you, somehow, like, fortunately, I could say we have taken deployment in the middle of all this, and that's why, and you also have learned about introduction about lightning experience. So we have this great chance that we could, from this onward, we could start using the lightning experience. So this is why what I feel like, we should start from this onward, we should start working with the lightning experience, and you should also try with the same. I hope this suits to all of you. You can vote me on the chat if you wanted me to continue with the lightning, or what, I mean, if you feel this is not worthy and we should still work in the classic. So I'll give you just 2 minutes. We have 7:39. Just 2 minutes. You can ping me on the chat. I mean, audio I have disabled. So just ping me on the chat whether you wanted to continue in the lightning experience or not. Say yes or no. Just yes or no. Everyone, please, everyone has to vote this. I can see there are 8 people apart from me. I should at least see 8 answers because maybe people are going to join, but at least I should see 8 of them. I have Ruchira, Sarfraz, Bhagyashri, Shadab, Snehal, Rahat, Pallavi. Who's left? 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. Almost everyone has voted this. Thank you so much, guys. Let's now start with the lightning experience. So from this onward, everything we're going to study would be in the lightning. It's a good thing. All right. So we were working with the triggers, and we have written almost 3 or maybe 4 triggers. I have given you a few of the assignments as well. I hope you guys have completed. If not, please complete this. And if you would find any difficulties while solving this, I'm always open. I'm always here to you. You just have to contact me, but in your WhatsApp group. All right. Please don't message me anything on the personal, because I don't have anybody's number on my cell phone. So if you wanted ever to ask me any question, we have a community, we have a WhatsApp group, so you can ask me definitely over there. But do your assignments. Now, I'm presenting you one of the scenario where it is something called as deduplications. Deduplications. This is one of the scenario for which there is no other alternative apart from the triggers. See, let's have a discussion first. Let's have a small discussion before I go further with this, because in your interview, if somebody would ask you like, uh, can you tell me some of the scenario for which you have particularly created a trigger, and they are more interested to know like was there any scenario which can only be possible with the triggers? Because see, with the introduction of lightning flows, there are a lot of the things which lightning flows could achieve. So I promised you that in the next Sunday, in the coming Sunday, not next, in the coming Sunday, we are going to see for the lightning flows as well. So there are a lot of the things, which lightning flows can do. Before lightning flow, we used to have only one option for that. That was the trigger. Like you created this trigger where we have like account, industry, facts, and website. There was few certain fields which we have make these fields as mandatory. Now, particularly for this one, I'm not saying that we can achieve this with the lightning flow, but this. If we wanted to make a field as a required field, as a mandatory field, there are so many other ways as well to do this apart from writing a trigger. You can do this with the required checkbox. You can also do this with the page layout customization. You can also do this with the validation rules, isn't it? So apart from trigger, there are at least 3 more ways to do that. Writing a trigger is not at all is the only one option over here, right? We know this. But yes, we should know. That's why we have written this. We should also have this idea that with the triggers, we can also make something as few of the fields as a required field inside in an object. So that's why we have written. But we also know that, yeah, writing a trigger is not at all mandatory for this particular use case. Now, similarly, we were having this second problem we taken where based on certain selections of a pick list value, for example, inside in an object, lead object, there was a pick list called industry. It was having all these options. So based on certain pick list option, we wanted to populate the value of a certain another field. Again, this could be achieved with the lightning flows. This can be done with the lightning flows. So this was again a problem where we have two options. Either I can go with the lightning flow. I can also go with I can also go with the triggers, right? Let me try to elaborate this a little more. Just give me a moment. So this scenario, we can definitely implement this with flows, right? This scenario, we can definitely implement this with the flows. But we then have learned how we can write down a trigger for this. Now, prevention of deletion. If you are trying to delete something, and because if that data is crucial based on certain fields, we decided that this data should not be get deleted. And the example was like, if a record is an active account, if there is a field called as an active, and if that is checked, it shouldn't be deleted. That's just a scenario example. So we have implemented this with a trigger. There was a small code for this although, but yes, this can also be done. This can also be done with the flows, right? This can also be done with the flows. But today I'm going to take this scenario where we are implementing a trigger for the deduplication process. There is no other alternative for this. This is a very unique scenario. So for example, now, if someone would ask you this in interview, can you tell me something for which writing a trigger was the only option, something which can only be implemented with the triggers, and there's no other option for that, you can definitely tell to them maintaining uniqueness of a record inside the object or for the deduplication process. There's no other. This cannot be implemented with the flows. There's only one way to implement this, and that is trigger. So what does it means by maintaining the uniqueness is like, for example, if you have the objects, right? If you have the objects, I'll just go, I can do it from here as well. If you have the objects, yesterday, I guess we created something and we have the objects like all these hiring manager or something like hiring manager or position, or let's say candidates, and you have all these records inside the candidate. So with the same detail, you should not enter another record. Right now, what you can, I mean, by default, Salesforce allows you, by default, Salesforce allow you to create duplicated records. So you can simply, I just clone and saved it. So what would happen now is like, we have two records, an exactly same record. We have two exactly same record where everything is common between two of them, every value. So this actually means these two are duplicated records. Salesforce have this Salesforce have this feature that it would not stop you to enter duplicated record. And this happens with every object. This you can try with any of them. You can create this inside account, contact, any record, any object. So what does it mean? Salesforce by default allow you to enter duplicate values. But let's say inside in certain object, the business requires that we should not enter the duplicated values. And this is a very common scenario, isn't it? This is a very common scenario that once that record is being there should not be other same record with the same details. This is a very common scenario. For example, you can take anything, any real world scenario for this. You can take any real world example for this. So how to implement that? How to implement that? So there's no another alternative apart from the triggers. So we would understand how we can do that. So let's write down a trigger on hiring manager object. You can implement this on candidate, any object. That's not an issue. So if I would go to the hiring manager, and let's say if there are these records of hiring manager which are already available over there, right? So we should not enter the same record again. So what we are going to do is like, see if I'll just clone one of them. So if there is a record called Akshay Dave, so Akshay, I mean, these every record inside hiring manager have all these fields like name and then contact number and then the email ID and then location and everything. So either you can build up a logic like you would going to compare everything. Like, is there any name called as Akshay Dave? Is there already a record with this contact number? Is there already a record with this email ID? Is there already a record with this location? You can build up for you can compare the record for every field. And mostly this is done when we are implementing a deduplication logic, we compare the record against every field. But just try, I mean, I'm just trying to make it simple. I would restrict this logic just to compare contact number and email ID. Although you can practice the same or you can extend this logic. My suggestion would be you should extend. My suggestion would be like you should extend this logic. I'm taking, I'm taking in consideration only these two fields. That contact number and email ID, I'm going to check. For example, if you are trying to enter a record who already have this contact number along with this email ID, I would say that, see, we already have a record with these details, and we will not allow you to enter the duplicate records. We're going to print certain error message obviously for this. So I am restricting myself. I'm just restricting this logic based on two fields only. But you can definitely extend this. All right, let's understand. So let's go to building up this on the hiring manager. So let's go to developer console. How to do that? Go to this gear icon and click onto the developer console. Let's do that. And let me first of all see, do we have any trigger already created on the hiring manager. Let's see. So I would go and open, click on the triggers. Now we have only 2 triggers. So I would create a new trigger rather. So I would be creating a trigger, Apex trigger. The name would be like HR manager trigger, or let's say hiring manager trigger, HIARI manager, hiring manager trigger, right? With this name. And the object which I'm selecting is hiring manager. Hmm, hmm. Hiring manager. Okay, this object. All right. So trigger with a name called hiring manager trigger on hiring manager before insert. Before insert. See, it's a deduplication. So it's not just about like when you are inserting a record. This has to be checked even though if you are trying to update a record. So I'm extending this logic to be get applied before insert. It's already there, before update as well. So either if someone is creating a new record inside hiring manager, or maybe if someone is trying to update an existing record. So in both of the cases, he's not allowed to enter the duplicate records. That's why we are covering these 2 scenarios, inserted and update. Now, let me first of all do a bifurcation based on insertion, or we just doing this you already did, like trigger context variable. So I would be checking for like if the trigger dot is, let's say, before, right? And I'll open a bracket over here, and trigger dot is before, or trigger dot is update. So if it's a trigger, if it's a trigger, and if it's a before trigger, first of all, it should have to be a before. This logic which I'm going to write inside in this block is going to be applicable for all of those before events, and it would going to cover, it would going to cover both of them. So whether it's is insert, sorry, whether it's an is insert, whether it's an is insert or is update. So this block would be applicable for both of them. It's going to be applicable for both of them. All right. So if trigger dot is before, if it's an is insert, or if an it's update. Now I would access all those records which are either getting inserted, or getting updated. So we know about this. We have talked, we have understand, we talked and we discussed, like if you are trying to insert a record, or if you are trying to update a record, in both of the cases, that record goes to trigger.new. What is trigger.new? Internally is a list collection. Internally, it is a list collection. It's a personal memory of trigger. So trigger, if it is applying any sort of validation, that validation is applied only inside in this area. Only inside in this area. All right. So we would access all those records which are either trying to be inserted, or either which are trying to be get updated. So we are accessing those records, but we have to access it from where? From trigger.new. So that's why. And every record is of data type this. Every record is of hiring manager records. That's why this is the data type. And I'll take some local variable like HR, let's say record, HR record. Now I would open the for loop block, and here I'm going to design a query. So that I was trying to say, okay, I am going to restrict my search based on only 2 things, contact number and HR email ID. I'm going to take this as a parameter of comparison, but you can definitely extend this, right? So Let's see. I would be, first of all, I'm designing an integer variable. Why? You would going to understand, don't worry. Records count equals to, and here I'm going to write down one SQL query. One SQL query. Select. Select, just count. Give the value of count, right? Select count. You have probably, I mean, I have taken this count. I'm not sure if I have not taken this. So you can definitely go to Salesforce Inspector and write down the same query over there. So select the count from the hiring manager, from the hiring manager. Count of what? Count of what? Where, let's say name, I'm taking name also. Name equals to, and equals to colon means dynamic assignment. Dynamic assignment, we have learned this. So this is that HR record dot name. Let me please write down the query and then I'm going to talk on this, where the name equals to HR record dot name. All right, this is my first condition, and and what is the name of that field? 1 second, just grab me API name of this. I can do it like this as well. I am ठीक है, ऐसा भी कर सकते हैं, ऐसा भी कर सकते हैं. Contact number. I'm just taking the API of this contact number, where name equals to this, and contact number again equals to colon HR record dot contact number, HR record dot contact number, and I'm taking one more condition, and the next is 1 second. I'll just take it directly from here, equals to colon HR record dot email ID. Just give me a moment. Let me design the query. I'm going to explain you that. Don't worry. Okay. Now see. Let's try to understand this. First of all, let's understand. So I have asked for, I have asked for count. Just give me the count of all those hiring manager records where name equals to HR record dot name. What does it means? Let's say I would okay. Let's understand that inside in the hiring manager object, for instance, understand that inside in the hiring manager object, we have a record where, let's say, name and contact number and email ID. All right, let's understand. We already have a record inside hiring manager object where the name is Akshay, contact number is 23, and email ID is abc@test.com. Right, let's understand with this example. So let's consider that inside in the hiring manager object, we already have a record where name is Akshay, and contact number is 2323, and email ID is abc@test.com. This we already have, right? Now one user tried to enter a record. So before insert, or maybe he's trying to update an existing record. So whatever the record he's trying to either insert or update, that goes to trigger.new. Right? So he's trying to insert a new record. Let's make it a little more simple. So let's consider one user is trying to insert a new record inside hiring manager. So that record initially goes to trigger.new. We know this. Why it goes, we have discussed everything about that. And when he was inserting the record, the name and the contact number and the email ID, what he have entered is again Akshay. Contact number he entered as 23, and email ID he entered is as abc@test.com. Okay. So this record now, this is a new record, by the way. This is a new record, and this record is inside trigger.new. So we have applied a for loop over here. And there are so many of them, right? We would just understand that, yeah. So from trigger.new, we fetch the record and we stored it inside a variable called as HR record. ठीक है, यहाँ तक क्लियर है? अब आगे बढ़ते हैं. So this complete record is now inside HR record. HR record में है ये. उसके बाद I have fired a query. एक query बनाया मैंने. I wanted to get the value of count. मुझे count चाहिए. I wanted to get the value of count where from the hiring manager where name equals to dynamic assignment because yeah we are getting it from a variable. HR record dot name. HR record का name क्या है? AK अक्षय. तो हायरिंग मैनेजर ऑब्जेक्ट में ऐसे कितने रिकॉर्ड्स हैं जिसका नाम है अक्षय और ऐसे उनका कॉन्टैक्ट नंबर है ये 23 मतलब HR रिकॉर्ड डॉट कॉन्टैक्ट नंबर. HR रिकॉर्ड कॉन्टैक्ट नंबर क्या है? 23 एंड HR रिकॉर्ड ईमेल आईडी. तो ईमेल आईडी ये. तो ऐसे कितने रिकॉर्ड्स हैं हायरिंग मैनेजर ऑब्जेक्ट में? यहाँ से अब ये यहाँ क्वेरी तो डेटाबेस पे फायर होगी ना. क्वेरी आपकी डेटाबेस पे फायर होगी. तो ये क्वेरी क्या ट्राई करेगा कि भाई हमें वो सारे रिकॉर्ड्स ढूंढने हैं हायरिंग मैनेजर ऑब्जेक्ट में जाके वो सारे रिकॉर्ड्स ढूंढने हैं जिसका नाम हो अक्षय क्योंकि अक्षय है यहाँ पे. HR रिकॉर्ड डॉट नेम मतलब ये. और जिसका कॉन्टैक्ट नंबर हो HR रिकॉर्ड डॉट कॉन्टैक्ट नंबर. HR रिकॉर्ड डॉट कॉन्टैक्ट नंबर है 23. और जिसका ईमेल आईडी हो HR रिकॉर्ड डॉट ये HR ईमेल आईडी तो वो है ABC. तो उसको पता चलेगा कि मान के चलो ऐसे दो रिकॉर्ड है यहाँ पे एक या दो ऐसे हम मान के चलते हैं कि ऐसा ऑलरेडी एक रिकॉर्ड है या एक से ज्यादा दो भी है. तो उसका काउंट देगा. तो ये काउंट आपका कहाँ पर आ रहा है? रिकॉर्ड्स काउंट में. अब मैं सिंपल एक चीज पूछता हूँ कि एक ही कंसिडर करो आप. आपको काउंट का वैल्यू क्या मिलेगा यहाँ पे? 1. देर इज ऑलरेडी वन रिकॉर्ड. देर इज ऑलरेडी वन रिकॉर्ड इन साइड डेटाबेस वेयर नेम इक्वल्स टू HR record dot name, where contact number equals to HR record dot contact number, where email ID equals to HR record dot email ID. तो आपको इस केस में अभी इस एग्जांपल के साथ अगर हम आगे बढ़ते हैं तो आपको रिकॉर्ड काउंट्स की जो वैल्यू इस वेरिएबल की वैल्यू क्या मिलेगी? 1. और 1 मिलने का मतलब ये होता है कि विद दीज डिटेल्स लाइक नेम इक्वल्स टू अक्षय, कॉन्टैक्ट नंबर इक्वल्स टू 23 एंड ईमेल आईडी इक्वल्स टू ABC एट द रेट जो भी है, देयर इज ऑलरेडी अ रिकॉर्ड विथ सेम डिटेल्स इनसाइड द ऑब्जेक्ट. इसका मतलब यही होता है. अगर ये जीरो रहता, मान के चलो कि इसने पूरा देखा बट उसको कोई ऐसा रिकॉर्ड नहीं मिला जिसमें नाम अक्षय साथ में आई मीन ये सारी मैंने एंड कंडीशन लगाई है. इसका मतलब एंड यानी कि अगर अक्षय है लेकिन अगर उसका 23 के बजाय 36 है तो वो अलग रिकॉर्ड हो गया. समझ लो आप. विद एग्जैक्टली सेम डिटेल्स बोल रहा हूं मैं. विद एग्जैक्टली सेम डिटेल्स. जैसे अक्षय है, अक्षय भी नहीं है तो इसका काउंट आता जीरो. अगर काउंट जीरो आता है इसका मतलब ऐसा कोई रिकॉर्ड नहीं है. विद दीज सेम डिटेल्स देयर इज नो रिकॉर्ड्स इनसाइड इन ऑब्जेक्ट. बट अगर काउंट इज ग्रेटर देन जीरो मिलता है आपको, काउंट जो है वो ग्रेटर देन जीरो मिलता है, जैसे 1 मिलता है या 2 मिलता है या 3 मिलता है जो भी, तो इसका मतलब ये होता है कि विद दीज डिटेल्स देयर इज ऑलरेडी अ रिकॉर्ड इनसाइड द ऑब्जेक्ट. ठीक है, ये इसका लॉजिक है. तो इसके बाद में मैं क्या चेक करने वाला हूँ आफ्टर दिस क्वेरी. I would be going to check for I would be going to check for what is the value of. So if, if record counts, if record counts is greater than zero, अगर ये जीरो से बड़ा है तो, चाहे 1 है फिर 2 है या उसे कुछ भी, अगर 1 है इसका मतलब विद दीज सेम डिटेल्स, यही नाम के साथ, यही कॉन्टैक्ट नंबर और यही ईमेल आईडी के साथ एक रिकॉर्ड ऑलरेडी है. अगर इसकी वैल्यू 2 मिलती है तो इसका मतलब दो रिकॉर्ड्स हैं, तीन रिकॉर्ड्स हैं. तो वो कितने भी हो हमारे लिए इंपॉर्टेंट है कि अगर वो ग्रेटर देन जीरो है तो, अगर वो ग्रेटर देन जीरो इसका मतलब भाई उस डिटेल्स के साथ ऑलरेडी रिकॉर्ड है वहां पे. तो व्हाट आई एम गोइंग टू डू इन दिस केस, अगर ऐसा होता है तो वी वुड गोइंग टू थ्रो द एरर. सो HR रिकॉर्ड्स डॉट एड एरर. HR रिकॉर्ड डॉट एड. और यहाँ पर हमें कस्टमाइज मैसेज जो है प्रिंट करके देंगे कि क्या लिखना, there is already a record with same details in HR manager object. ठीक है। या आप जो भी कस्टमाइज मैसेज लिखना चाहते हो, डुप्लीकेटेड रिकॉर्ड ऑलरेडी फाउंड, ऐसा कुछ भी जो भी आपको सही लगता है, आप एक मैसेज यहाँ पे दे सकते हो। ठीक है, चलो। सो लेट मी ट्राई टू एक्सप्लेन दिस यू वंस अगेन। उसके बाद में फिर से मैं, अब ट्रिगर सेव तो हो गया है, तो बस इंप्लीमेंटेशन बतानी है, बट स्टिल मैं फिर से समझाता हूँ। हमने एक क्वेरी डिजाइन करी जिसमें वी आर आस्किंग फॉर द काउंट, वी आर आस्किंग फॉर द काउंट। हम क्या मांग रहे हैं? वी आर आस्किंग फॉर द काउंट। काउंट ऑफ व्हाट? जैसे if someone is trying to insert a record, or maybe if it's trying to update a record, we know one thing, that every such record which is either trying to be get inserted or updated, that goes to trigger.new. अब ट्रिगर डॉट न्यू में ये गया, तो आपने यहाँ से ट्रिगर डॉट न्यू से उसको आपने फेच किया, फॉर लूप लगाया आपने उसको, और आपने एक एक रिकॉर्ड, ऐसे 10 रिकॉर्ड इंसर्ट हो रहे हैं, 1000 रिकॉर्ड अपडेट हो रहे हैं, उससे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता। एक एक रिकॉर्ड जो है ना, दैट गोज टू एच आर रिकॉर्ड, एच आर रिकॉर्ड नाम के एक वेरिएबल में। अब हम चेक कर रहे हैं कि एच आर रिकॉर्ड के अगेंस्ट में एच आर रिकॉर्ड का नाम क्या है, एच आर रिकॉर्ड का कॉन्टैक्ट नंबर क्या है, सेकेंड एंटिटी, एच आर रिकॉर्ड का ईमेल आईडी। यहाँ पर आप जितना चाहे बढ़ा सकते हो उसको। मैंने सिर्फ 3 एंटिटीज यहाँ ली है, आप इसको और एक्सटेंड कर सकते हो। ठीक है, कितनी फील्ड्स के अगेंस्ट चेक करना, वो आपके ऊपर है। लाइक एक्चुअली आप पर भी नहीं है, वो डिपेंड्स ऑन द यूज केस के अगेंस्ट दिस पर्टिकुलर फील्ड वी हैव टू एक्सटेंड द डुप्लीकेशन मैकेनिज्म। सो दैट कंप्लीटली डिपेंड्स ऑन द फैक्ट, लाइक हाउ मच फील्ड we wanted to incorporate over here, right? चलिए, so right now what I'm doing is, like, I'm comparing this against 3 fields. name क्या है, नेम क्या है, उसका कॉन्टैक्ट नंबर क्या है, और उसका ईमेल आईडी। सो विद दीज 3 डिटेल्स, एग्जैक्टली दीज 3, जैसे देयर इज एन अक्षय डेटा, अक्षय का ईमेल आईडी, अक्षय का मोबाइल नंबर इज 23, ईमेल आईडी इज दिस वन, एग्जैक्टली सेम। अगर रिकॉर्ड आपको जितने भी मिलते हैं उसका काउंट आप हमें रिटर्न करो। सो इफ लेट्स से इफ देयर इज 1 रिकॉर्ड ऑलरेडी विद द सेम डेट, अगर नहीं है तो काउंट की वैल्यू क्या आएगी बताओ मेरे को? 0। If there is no such record, I mean, this has searched in the entire database of hiring manager, in the entire table of hiring manager. There is no record. There is no record with these details, exactly same matching details. There is no such record with the name called Akshay. Or maybe if there is an Akshay, contact number is different. There is no such Akshay with this contact number and this email ID. Or even though if these two entities are same, let's say email ID is different. So even if a single entity seems to be, even if a single entity seems to be have a different value, is considered to be a separate record. Understood? This is what. हाँ, लेकिन अगर मान के चलो भाई कि एक भी रिकॉर्ड अगर मिलता है जिसमें अक्षय है और उसका कॉन्टैक्ट नंबर 23 है और उसका ईमेल आईडी एबीसी है, इसका मतलब वो रिकॉर्ड है, वो रिकॉर्ड ऑलरेडी है, एंड यू आर ट्राइंग टू इंसर्ट द सेम रिकॉर्ड। सो इवन इफ इट इज 1, दैट मीन्स इफ इट इज ग्रेटर देन 0, if it is greater than 0, if it is 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, more importantly it is greater than 0, so we can say that this record, we already have this record with the same data, so there's already a duplicated record, something like that. Whatever customized message you wanted to print, you can definitely do that, right? So this is what is called as deduplication, and this can only be implemented with triggers. There's no another way to do that, right? So now I have saved this, that means the trigger has been applied. Let's go to the hiring manager and let's see what I would try to clone this. I'll try to clone this and I'll try to save it. I mean, with the same details. See, with the same details I'm saving. So there is already a record with same details in the hiring manager. See, there's already a record with the same details in the hiring manager, right? This is the way, like, the errors are displayed. Errors are displayed in the Lightning environment. And Classic it comes on the top of the page, because in Classic everything is a page. In the Lightning there's only one page and rest everything is the component. So this error comes on the component level, not on the page level. So there's already a record with the same details in the hiring manager. So this is something called as deduplication logic. Now you definitely cannot, इंसर्ट रिकॉर्ड विद द सेम डिटेल। हाँ, आप अगर कुछ चेंज करोगे इसमें तो हो जाएगा वो। लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल यू मेक इट akshay12@test.com एंड नाउ इफ यू ट्राई टू सेव इट, वो हो जाएगा। क्यों क्यों हो जाएगा? बिकॉज इट कंसिडर टू बी अ डिफरेंट रिकॉर्ड। आपने एक भी एंटिटी चेंज किया, इज कंसिडर टू बी अ सेपरेट रिकॉर्ड। नाउ अगर आप उसको एग्जैक्ट क्लोन करके सेव करो तो फिर आपको एरर आएगा। So this logic is called as deduplication. And by the way, this can only be implemented with a trigger. There is no other way to do that. So this was a very important concept This is a very important answer that you probably they would ask you this in the interview, and you'll have to say, yes, I know about one thing which I guess can only be implemented with a trigger, and that's a deduplication logic. So whenever you wanted to maintain the uniqueness of record inside in any object, you wanted that every record inside an object should always be a unique record and there would not be any duplicated value. There's only one way to do that, and that is trigger. That is trigger. Right? So this was certainly a very important thing what we have studied so far. That's all for today. You have any question? Please go ahead. Yes, any questions? Any questions? We're going to take this with flows, lightning flows. I'm keeping this question for lightning flow. We're not going to understand this trigger with the triggers. I'm keeping this for next Sunday. We'll implement this with lightning flows. Don't worry. There's no need to draw. There's no need to write down a trigger for this. We're going to draw a lightning flow. Uh, we'll take this. We'll take this in the next session. This I'm keeping pending for lightning flows. All right. This scenario I'm going to cover with the lightning flows. Yeah. So tomorrow I'm going to take this. Right. Yeah. Any questions? Oh, let me give you this command. Sorry. You can now unmute yourself. Yes. You can now unmute yourself. Any questions? Yes. Any questions? For those who have joined little late, I mean, in the beginning of today's session, uh, I have just informed that from this onward, we would be working on the lightning experience for almost everything, and that's why we would, or you would probably would also going to have the hands-on on the this experience, lightning experience. I mean, how to navigate the things over here as well. So that's what we have decided. Those who have joined little late, yeah, no questions at all. Then thank you so much for joining. Have a nice day.